Hello, this is Richard from Deliveroo, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to set up Amazon S3 and Cloudfront for hosting your landing pages. So the reason why we recommend you utilizing Amazon S3 and the Cloudfront connection is because this is the best way to uh, have fast loading landing pages at the cheapest cost. In fact, apart from just being really cheap, they actually offer a free pricing tier for the first year once you set up a new account, which can have an immediate impact on your cash flow. You know, we're in the game of CPA marketing where cash flow is king. So being very strategic and being very smart in terms of how you execute, such as utilizing Amazon S3, is very important and can make a big difference to your success. Not only that, Amazon S3 has some super fast loading landing pages, which can have a direct impact on your campaign ROI, which could potentially mean the difference between a break-even campaign and a profitable campaign. Because the impact of, when you're directing primarily mobile traffic to your landers, they do not have any time to waste. They're very time poor, so you need to get them to the value as quickly as possible. All right, so I'm going to start off by kind of walking you through exactly how to initiate this connection and how to set everything up. I'm going to try not to be going too quickly, but I am from London, so I'm going to be going at a fairly rapid pace just by nature. And okay, so the first thing what we're going to need to do is you need to grab a pen and paper. So if you don't have a pen and paper right now, please grab something, because I need you to take some notes, because this can get a little bit tricky especially if you're not too technical, and if you're not kind of taking notes on key areas, you may miss out a particular point, and that could make things really difficult and make things really confusing. So please grab a pen and paper now, and feel free to pause the video as many times as you need, rewind the video as many times as required until you know exactly what you're doing for setting up your landing pages and your hosting with Amazon. All right, so the first thing that you're going to need to do, as you can see on my screen, I'm currently in the Namecheap dashboard. You're going to need to go to your domain registrar's dashboard. So I'm assuming you could be utilizing Namecheap, and if you are, please go into your Namecheap dashboard, and then I want you to find the domain that you are connecting. You're connecting to the Amazon hosting. So whatever domain you're planning to use for your campaigns, please select that from the list of domains. So you want to select domain list here, domain list. Great. And then you want to select the domain that you are planning on using. So here's the domain that I'm going to be using for this example. So I'm using a domain called just-anniversary-rewards.com. I'm going to select manage. Awesome, so that's now loaded up perfectly. So what I want to do is I want to essentially set up forwarding from this domain to my email address, so email forwarding, because we're going to be connecting to Amazon, and we're going to need to generate an SSL certificate for our domain, and we receive the approval email. We receive an email for approval, and that needs to go to our main email address, not to just a campaign email address, because that can come and go, but we need it to be associated with our main email address, just for prudency and just to be safe. All right. So what you want to do is you want to scroll down on this page, and where it says redirect email in this section, you want to go ahead and select add catch all. And then you want to type in your forwarding email address. So for me, that would be richard@dbaroo.com. Click the tick. And now this can take up to 60 minutes for the settings to completely work, which means that before you can go to the next step, you may need to wait. So you may need to pause this video until that connection works. But the only way you can find out if that works is by starting on to step 2. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to need to go to AWS. So you need to go to AWS. So what you want to search, I'm currently logged in, but I'm going to show you exactly what you need to search in your URL. So you're going to need to put in aws.amazon.com. Okay. Enter that into your URL. I'm going to AWS Management Console. Yep, and it takes me to a page, and then you should be able to create a new AWS account. All right, but as I've already got that account, I'm just going to click sign in. Awesome. And now what you want to do is where it says find services, in this search bar, you want to search certificate manager. So just put certificate, and the correct area should kind of load up, and just select that from the menu. Okay. Fantastic. So now I want to select request a certificate, request a public certificate, and I want to enter in my domain. So I'm going to go back to Namecheap just to confirm my domain. I'm going to copy that domain. All right. Awesome. And you want to add another name to this certificate. All right. And the other name you want to add is your domain name, but prepended with the asterisk and a full stop. So you put in an asterisk and a full stop, and then you paste in your domain. All right. And this essentially allows any sort of subdomain with that root domain to be covered with the same SSL certificate. All right. So if you had giveaways.just-anniversary-rewards.com, that will be covered. If you had offers.just-anniversary-rewards.com, that will be covered. And essentially that enables the entire domain, not just the root domain, to be covered under the same certificate when you have this asterisk and full stop. And we call that a wildcard. All right, so what you want to do is press next here. And you want to select email validation. Make sure it's email validation. It's much easier than doing the DNS. And you want to select review. Yep, correct. You want to select confirm and request. Okay, so the email will be sent, and at this point, depending on if your forwarding is working already, you may need to wait half an hour to an hour for this to work, and if you're fortunate, it may work straight away. So I'm just going to pause this video now whilst I wait for that to come through to my email. Okay, awesome. So I'm in my email right now. For some reason, it came through around 10 times. I'm not entirely sure what happened. That definitely is an Amazon issue. That was not my fault. Anyway, so the good thing is the approval request has come through, and it came through fairly quickly. So hopefully for you guys, it just takes around a couple of minutes. But worst case scenario, if it takes up to an hour, do not panic. Just be patient. So I'm going to go ahead and click this link to approve the request. Awesome, and I want to then select I approve. Fantastic. And now I'm going to go back to my AWS Certificate Manager, which is in another tab. Press continue, and it now says issued. So if it's not ready yet, it will say, I believe it says pending, and it should be in yellow. But mine says issued because I've approved it, which is fantastic. So we're going to move on to the next step. And this will be allowing you to configure your S3 bucket for the static site. It's essentially configuring your hosting. So what you want to do is you want to go back to this, go press the icon in the top left-hand corner, the AWS icon. Great. And in the search bar, what you want to do is put in S3, select the first option. Waiting for that to load up. And then you want to select create buckets. Okay. And now, this is very important that you listen carefully. What you want to do is you want to enter your domain name, but do not use a full stop in the bucket name here. Use a dash instead. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So here's my domain name, and I currently have a just -anniversary-rewards full stop com. I'm going to replace that full stop, and I'm going to put a dash. And whatever your domain is, make sure you put a dash before you put in the suffix at the end of the domain. So if it's .co, you put -co. If it's .com, you put -com. If it's .co.uk, you put -co.uk. -co-uk. So there's no full stops. Okay, and that should be it. I think it should be working fine from there. Awesome. So then you just need to press create. Don't need to go anywhere else. Press create. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and click back onto that. I'm going to select the permissions tab. I'm going to then select edit. I'm going to uncheck this option. And now we want to make sure that all the ACLs, the ones that have ACL, are blocked. Okay, so that's now been checked, and this has now been checked. Fantastic. And we want to leave these ones blank, so leave those unchecked. Okay, and then want to press save. And you got enter the word confirm. Confirm. Great. Now on this page, most likely at the bottom of the page or somewhere, you should be able to grab a code snippet. Just a snippet of code, just one line of code, and you're going to need to select the bucket policy here. And once you've selected bucket policy, you then want to grab the code snippet that should be somewhere on this page. I'm going to pull up a sticky note with it, and within the code snippet, you want to find where it says example-com. You can see that here, and you want to replace the example with your domain name, excluding your suffix, right? So I would grab just the just-rewards, copy that. I will then pull up the sticky note again. Pull up the sticky note. Okay, can't seem to find my sticky note. Pull up my sticky note. All right. Okay, I've got my sticky note. So I'm going to replace the example with that, and it's a bit bigger, but that's completely fine. It will correct itself when I paste it in here, and I'm just going to paste. Okay, and if it does anything weird like that, you just want to move that back up onto one line. Okay, and then there's a little dot there for some reason, and that's in red, so I'm going to delete that. But yeah, everything should be fine. So you want your line of code to replicate this line of code that I've got on my screen. All right, so your domain dash whatever suffix you have on your domain. I'm assuming it's going to be a .com domain, so I'm assuming it's going to be a .com, but whatever that is, make sure you update this part as well, otherwise it will not work. Press save, and that should work fine. Perfect, that's worked fine for us. So now, the next thing we want to do is we want to go to properties. Okay. And in properties, you want to select static website hosting. And we then want to select use this bucket to host a website. All right. Okay. And where it says index document, we want to enter the index.html. So we want to put in index.html. Error document, we want to put in index.html. And another thing that's important is you want to grab this endpoint URL. So make sure you copy and paste the endpoint URL and then place that into your sticky. Okay. So got the endpoint URL saved. Fantastic. And then we should be able to just press save. Awesome. So now we're going to go into Cloudfront. We're almost at the final step. So if you've kept up so far, well done. We're almost there. Okay, so we're going to go to this AWS icon, which takes us back to the home page. We're going to search Cloudfront. Awesome. I'm going to select Create Distribution. I'm going to select Web. And then we're going to select Get Started here. Awesome. Great stuff. Now, where it says Origin Domain Name, do not select anything from the drop-down menu. If you click there, do not select anything from the drop-down menu. What you want to do is you want to open up your sticky once again, and you want to grab that endpoint URL which you just copied. So this URL, and then I'm going to paste that URL here, and that should automatically generate the origin ID. Fantastic. And I'm not going to change anything else other than where it says viewer protocol policy. I'm going to select the redirect HTTP to HTTPS. I'm going to select that option. Awesome. I'm going to scroll down. And where it says distribution settings, we are going to enter our custom domain, both the root domain and the wildcard domain for our custom domain. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let's pull up my domain once again. This time I'm going to pull the whole domain, copying the whole domain. So that's my domain. And then I'm going to put in my wildcard domain, which is adding the asterisk and the full stop, pressing paste, and that's it. Perfect. And then we should be able to select our SSL certificate here. Yes, I can find it. just-anniversary-rewards.com. Perfect. If we scroll down, we should be able to just go straight to create distribution here. And fingers crossed that works out. Perfect. That has worked out fine. Easy stuff, guys. This is easy stuff. If you focus and you just do exactly what I'm doing, you shouldn't face any issues. And if you have, make sure you rewind and make sure you listen to everything I've said so far, because there may be something that you're missing out on. All right. So the final, or one of the final steps, there's still two more big steps, but one of the final steps is we need to go back into Namecheap. So I'm going to go back into Namecheap. I'm going to go to Advanced DNS. Make sure you're in your correct domain. So I'm going to go to Advanced DNS. Once that loads up, we're going to go to Add New Record. Select the CNAME record. For host, we're just going to put an @ For the target, we're going to put our Cloudfront URL. And to get our Cloudfront URL, we will go back to the AWS dashboard, and you need to find the correct distribution, the correct Cloudfront distribution, and this is the correct one, simply because I can see that the CNAME is the just-anniversary-rewards domain, and it's in progress. So that's the one that we just created. Grab that, and then where it says target, you want to paste that in there, and then just press tick. And that should work fine. Awesome. Okay, so now it may take up to 60 minutes for this to kind of propagate correctly. So don't worry if if you kind of looked at your landing page and the things aren't like working straight away. It may take up to an hour or 2 hours for everything to propagate correctly. So the final step is to actually upload our landing page, right? So to do that, we go back into AWS, click on the home icon. We then want to go to our S3 dashboard. So once you start visiting different services, you'll start to see the services appear in this area. So recently visited services. So hopefully you have the similar thing. So I've already clicked on S3, so I don't need to search that again. I can just click it here. But if you don't have this option or you can't see this, you can still search it and it just takes 2 seconds. Anyway, well, this just makes things a little bit easier. So I'm just going to select S3. Awesome. I'm going to select our domain, which is our bucket. So it's the correct bucket. And then I'm going to start creating folders just to organize my website correctly. So I'm going to call the first folder Lander 1. So I'm assuming that I'm going to make a couple of landers and I'm going to split test, right? So I'm going to call it Lander 1. I'm going to click through into that folder. I'm going to create another folder and I'm going to call that folder CSS. Great. Create another folder. I'm going to call that folder JS for JavaScript. All right. And in another folder, I'm going to call that folder IMG for images. Okay. I'm going to not create any more folders. That should be it based on my lander. And I'm going to add my index file. Okay. So this is the template that I'm going to be adding. So the index file. Whoops. And then you don't need to press next, just go to upload in the left hand side. That's all you need to do. Awesome. I'm going to click through on my CSS folder and I'm going to upload the CSS contents. So go to CSS, upload the style.css file. Boom. Awesome. Go back to Lander 1, go to IMG, upload the images on the Lander. Okay, so go back, Lander 1, IMG. Okay, upload. Sweet. Awesome. Alright, so I'm going to go to JS, JavaScript. I'm going to upload, add files, select JS, boom, upload. Fantastic. So it seems like we've uploaded all the relevant files. So depending on if it's propagated yet, we could try to test out if the lander is currently working. And to do that, I will just need to grab my lander URL. I'm going to put this into a sticky so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to grab my lander URL. And based on the way I've set up those folders, this is how my URL would look like. So I'll put slash lander1 slash index.html. I'm going to show you why I've done that. So let's go back to S3. Okay, so we see that this is the domain. Yep. Then it's lander1 is the first folder. And then we have our index.html within that folder. So that's the structure of the page. And this is how we set it up. Awesome. Great stuff. So let's have a look to see if this landing page has been set up correctly and see if it works. Fantastic. And you see how quickly that loaded? That was pretty fast. So let's see if the JavaScript works. How old am I? I am between 18 and 30. Awesome. Great. Great. Awesome, so it all works fine. So that's how you set up your Amazon S3 and CloudFront for high-speed landing pages.